Morning everyone. So it's been about a month since I have posted anything on YouTube, and I apologise. So I first started my YouTube video app obviously to meet other people in my situation. I'm obviously a medical shielder. I homeschool my children. However, I haven't been able to post for a month because I've had personal things going on. I don't know if I mentioned before, but my husband was undergoing some medical investigations for a couple of months before. So yes, however, we do have a diagnosis. My husband has now, after developing more and more symptoms and ended up being admitted to hospital at the end of January, he has now come out and he is home and he's recovering. He has been diagnosed with Addison's disease. Most of you have probably never heard of it. It's a very rare disease. I think there's only just over 8,000 people in the UK that have been diagnosed with this disease from what we know. Obviously the last month has been research, learning, trying to understand the disease. From what I can gather, it's a very complicated disease. I find it extremely confusing. I mean, I'm lucky that when my husband was taken into hospital, he was taken in after being sick he was vomiting for like 5 days in a row, and he was getting worse and worse and worse. He was pretty much bedbound by the time he got taken in. His BP wasn't even registering on standing, so he was an extremely poorly man by the time he got taken in. However, he was only in there for 3 or 4 hours. He had lots of tests to go through. He saw a few, I think he saw like one doctor, and then the second doctor he saw was the one that picked up on the symptoms that he had and kind of linked it to this disease. And from that point on, it was test after test after test to obviously confirm that it was that. And it was. So we now have a diagnosis. He's home recovering. He's not back to work yet. It turns out that he went into what they call an adrenal crisis. So we are very lucky that he got diagnosed as quickly as he did, because his deterioration the week before he went in was so visibly obvious. It was awful. But so if any of you haven't heard of it, it's a deficiency with your adrenal glands, and they sit on top of your kidneys from what I can gather, and his have completely stopped working, so they're not giving out the cortisol that his body needs to stabilize his emotions, his levels and things like that. So it's a very delicate disease from what I can gather. Stress and emotion seem to be the biggest kind of triggers to the disease, which kind of makes sense now really, because he developed his first symptoms. We were kind of thinking back now, he started with these symptoms last May, June of last year, and then they progressively got worse from, I would say, the middle of November. And it tallies up with a few things that have been going on in our lifestyle actually. So I kind of highlighted what I thought it could possibly be, and it seems to kind of sit right. So yes, but he's home, he's recovering. He had lots and lots of symptoms leading up to his diagnosis: fatigue, muscle tiredness, vomiting. He lost nearly 2 stone in weight in 6 to 8 weeks over Christmas, and we all overindulged over Christmas like you do, so we couldn't quite understand why he was dropping his weight like he was, and that was a big concern for his doctor. Before he went in, he got signed off work properly when he developed dizziness. He was dizziness and feeling really sick quite often he would get like the watery mouth and stuff, and obviously he's a lorry driver, so he couldn't continue obviously doing his career line right then, so they signed him off. And then at that point his doctor put him forward for MRI, CT, rheumatology. He was having bloods every week then at that point, to try and figure out what was wrong. However, he deteriorated so quickly they didn't have a chance to get all of his tests done. The only one he got done was CT scan, which came back fine. So yeah, we've had a bit of a bumpy month, which is why I've been MIA. So yeah, Addison's disease is what he's got. He is obviously shielding at home with me now. He's not back in work. We don't know how long he's going to be off for. He spoke to his doctor just yesterday, and it's okay, my neighbour's at the back. Yeah, so shut that one. Oh, sorry guys. My neighbour's decided to go out in the back garden and start doing a bit of a clean out, which is lovely to see. So yes, he's got his diagnosis. He's not back to work. We don't know how long he's about to be back off, or we don't know when he's going back. He spoke to his doctor yesterday. He's been prescribed a few extra prescriptions to kind of go ahead with and see how he gets on with those. See if we can get some of these symptoms under control, because he's still having his dizziness and his weakness, and he's still really tired. He's suffering with fatigue. It seems to be a real problem. We think he's developed a little bit of anxiety as well, which is acceptable for what he's been through. So yeah, that's where I've been. So what we're up to at the moment, we are decorating the house. If anyone knows me and Simon, you'll know that we cannot do it. We can't be bored. It's just not an option for us. Obviously I suffer with mental health, so I can't be very inactive because it starts playing on my mind a bit. So I've got to be busy. We've just finished the hallway. We're in a 3-story house, so that was a massive job for us to do. We are now onto the front room. So although Simon can only manage a couple of hours a day, it's getting done. It's just getting done very slowly. So yeah, let me know what you've been up to over the last month. Obviously I have been still going for my daily walks with the children. We've been leaving Simon at home, but I just haven't really been in the mindset to kind of make any videos. It's all kind of been about learning about this disease, which has taken up most of our time really. But now we have the diagnosis. We're a month on now. Things have kind of settled down a bit. Like I say, we're trying to work to settle the symptoms that he's got now, try and figure out whether or not he can kind of build himself back up to what he was before, or whether he has to change his lifestyle a little bit to kind of get used to kind of living with this disease really. So that's kind of the point we're at. I know everything's starting to open up in a couple of weeks. How do you all feel about that? I'm still not quite ready. Not quite. And I think the more things start opening up and the busier the towns and things come in, I think it's going to kind of keep me at home a little bit more, to be fair, because I haven't had my injection yet. Simon's been called forward for it, obviously, because of what his body has been through. He does fall in the category of shielding. So he was offered his. However, he has said that he's not quite ready for it. He wants his immune system to recover from this traumatic experience first. He wants to be fighting fit for when he goes and has his, which is fine. Whereas I haven't even been called yet. I haven't had a message or a call or anything yet from my doctor to go forward, even though I've had all the shielding letters throughout. But I'm not going to ring her and chase it because I'm not ready yet. So, yes. So let me know what you've been up to, guys. If you've had the vaccine, please let me know which one you've had and how you've got on with it. Because that kind of might help me a little bit to make my decision. I kind of rear myself up and I'm like, oh, you know, it's a vaccine, just go and have it. And then I see on Facebook or social media somewhere that someone's had a reaction, and then I'm like, no, not yet. I don't feel as though I need it yet. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not returning to work. I'm not I still don't go in supermarkets and do my shopping. Everything gets delivered. So right now I don't feel as though I actually need it. I'm not putting myself at risk. So I don't feel that I need it. So let me know, guys, how you're getting on. If you have had it, which one you've had. If you've had any, you know, if you've been absolutely fine with it. I know some people have. Or if you've had kind of a bit of a rough experience with it, just drop in the comments below and let me know. And I will hopefully start uploading a bit more regularly now, because like I say, things are starting to settle at home a bit. So, which is great. I do not want to relive that month again. So I'll catch up with you soon, guys.